Centuries before the rise of great empires, before the towering pyramids of the Maya or the vast cities of the Aztecs, a journey began, one that would shape the very foundation of the Mesoamerican world. This journey wasn't carved in stone or written in codices. It was inscribed deep within the DNA of its people. Around 36,000 years ago, a small group of humans set off from their homeland in Asia, unaware that they were about to become the ancestors of entire civilizations. They traveled through icy landscapes, across endless miles of tundra, and into the heart of Siberia. Here, they encountered an ancient population known as the ancient North Eurasians, a mysterious group that had once roamed the mammoth-filled steppes of Ice Age Europe. What happened next would alter the genetic makeup of an entire continent. These two populations merged, forming a new lineage that carried unique traits that would later define the first Americans. As the Ice Age tightened its grip, glacier swallowed the northern lands, forcing early humans southward. Then, an opportunity arose, a land bridge called Beringia, connecting Asia to North America, opening a gateway to an untouched world. Driven by survival and curiosity, these early ancestors crossed into the Americas, stepping into an unfamiliar landscape teeming with challenges and possibilities. They became the first to set foot on these lands, their genetic signatures marking the beginning of indigenous American history. Over thousands of years, these early settlers spread across the continents, adapting to their new environments. But something remarkable happened in Mesoamerica. Unlike other regions, where smaller, scattered communities thrived, here, the population exploded. Agriculture flourished, civilizations emerged, and a distinct genetic identity took shape. The DNA of Mesoamerican peoples began to diverge from other Native American groups, creating a lineage that was uniquely theirs. But what made them different? Science tells us that their genetic makeup wasn't shaped by chance alone. Isolation, geography, and culture played a role in preserving their distinct ancestry. Unlike the North American tribes that remained semi-nomadic or the South American civilizations that spread across vast territories, Mesoamericans remained concentrated in a single region. This concentration allowed their genetic lineage to remain largely intact for thousands of years, even as their societies evolved into some of the most sophisticated civilizations of the ancient world. Now, with modern genetic research, we can trace the footprints of these early people, not through ruins or artifacts, but through the very blueprint of life itself. Scientists have uncovered genetic links between ancient skeletons found in Mesoamerican tombs and indigenous communities living today. This means that the descendants of those first pioneers still walk among us, carrying the echoes of a past that stretches back tens of thousands of years. The story of Mesoamerican genetics isn't just about the past. It's a testament to resilience, survival, and the unbreakable connection between a people and their land. And as science continues to unravel the secrets hidden within DNA, one thing becomes clear. The history we thought we knew is only just beginning to be rewritten. Centuries after the first humans set foot in the Americas, something extraordinary began to unfold in the heart of Mesoamerica. Unlike anywhere else in the world, diverse cultures flourished side by side, creating cities filled with towering pyramids, intricate art, and complex rituals. But beyond the stone monuments and ancient scripts, there was another story quietly written, the story of their genes. A story that reveals who these people truly were and how their genetic legacy shaped the civilizations we marvel at today. The DNA of Mesoamerican peoples holds secrets that stretch back thousands of years, offering clues about their unique identity. Scientists have discovered that their genetic signature is unlike any other Native American group. But what makes it so distinct? The answer lies in the delicate threads of mitochondrial DNA, passed down from mothers to their children for generations. This tiny strand of genetic material acts like a time capsule, preserving the history of maternal lineages across ages. Through these genetic markers, we can trace the ancestry of Mesoamerican civilizations, uncovering connections that were invisible to the naked eye. For instance, when researchers analyzed ancient remains from various Mesoamerican sites, they found a surprising pattern. The genetic markers in these remains showed a remarkable continuity with present-day indigenous populations. This means that despite the rise and fall of empires, the bloodlines of the ancient Olmecs, Maya, Zapotecs, and others have remained intact, flowing through the veins of people living in Mexico and Central America today. It's as if time stood still in their DNA, preserving their ancestors' legacy. But the story doesn't end there. The genetic landscape of Mesoamerica isn't just a straight line. It's a mosaic, shaped by migration, isolation, and adaptation. Ancient civilizations didn't exist in silos. They interacted, traded, and even intermarried, blending their cultures and, unknowingly, their genes. This genetic diversity is what makes Mesoamerican DNA so fascinating. It tells a story of resilience, of how people adapted to their environments, faced natural disasters, and overcame the challenges of time. Even more intriguing is how these genetic signatures differ from those found in other parts of the Americas. While North and South American indigenous groups show significant variations due to migrations and environmental factors, Mesoamerican populations retained a core genetic identity. This unique signature is a testament to the region's stability, both culturally and genetically. It's a rare phenomenon in human history, where ancient genetic traits survive almost unchanged despite the passage of millennia. As we dive deeper into the genetic story of Mesoamerican peoples, one thing becomes clear. Their identity wasn't just shaped by the gods they worshipped, the languages they spoke, or the cities they built. It was written in their very DNA, connecting them to their ancestors in an unbroken chain of life. This realization transforms how we view history, not just as a series of events carved in stone, but as a living legacy carried within us, waiting to be discovered. Imagine standing in the heart of an ancient Mesoamerican city, surrounded by towering pyramids and intricate stone carvings. The air is thick with history, but beneath the layers of soil and time lies something even more profound. Traces of people who lived, dreamed, and died here thousands of years ago. Their voices may have faded, but their story endures, not in words or artifacts, but in their very DNA. This is the silent testimony of ancient tombs, where genetics unlocks secrets that history books could never tell. Deep within burial chambers, often untouched for centuries, scientists have discovered human remains that carry more than just bones. They carry the genetic blueprint of entire civilizations. Through the groundbreaking field of archaeogenetics, researchers can now extract and analyze ancient DNA, revealing who these people were, where they came from, and how they lived. It's like opening a biological time capsule, offering a direct link to the past. One of the most remarkable discoveries comes from Chichen Itza, the iconic Mayan city known for its majestic pyramids and mysterious rituals. When scientists analyzed the DNA of individuals buried there, they found something extraordinary, a direct genetic connection to the modern Maya people living today. Despite the rise and fall of their empire, despite conquests and cultural shifts, the bloodline of the ancient Maya has remained unbroken. This isn't just history. It's living proof of a civilization's endurance etched into the genes of its descendants. But the story hidden in these tombs is far from simple. As researchers dug deeper, they uncovered unexpected genetic variations that challenged what we thought we knew about Mesoamerican history. Instead of finding a single, uniform population, the DNA revealed a rich tapestry of diverse groups, each with unique genetic markers. This diversity suggests that Mesoamerica wasn't just a land of isolated city-states, it was a vibrant network of cultures, connected by trade, migration, and intermarriage long before European contact. The ancient DNA also sheds light on mysterious chapters of Mesoamerican history that have puzzled scholars for years. For example, some genetic evidence points to migrations that don't align with traditional archaeological timelines, suggesting that people moved across regions much earlier than previously believed. These findings are rewriting our understanding of how civilizations like the Olmecs, Zapotecs, and Teotihuacanos rose and interacted. What's even more fascinating is how well-preserved some of this DNA is, despite the passage of thousands of years. In the humid climates of Mesoamerica, organic material typically decays quickly. Yet, thanks to advanced technology, even the most fragile genetic material can now be recovered, analyzed, and compared to modern populations. This has opened a new window into the past, allowing us to trace family lines, migration patterns, and even the spread of diseases through ancient communities. The story of Mesoamerica's ancient tombs isn't just about the dead. It's about the living, about how the echoes of the past continue to shape the identities of people today. Through these genetic discoveries, we're not just learning about history, we're witnessing the resilience of human life across time. Every strand of DNA tells a story, and together, they form a narrative far richer and more complex than we ever imagined. When the Spanish ships first appeared on the horizon of the Mesoamerican coast, they brought more than just soldiers, steel, and ambition. They carried the power to change an entire continent's genetic landscape forever. The clash between the Old World and the New wasn't just a battle of empires. It was a collision of bloodlines, cultures, and histories that reshaped the very DNA of Mesoamerican peoples. Before the Spanish conquest, Mesoamerica was a region rich in genetic diversity, shaped by thousands of years of migration, isolation, and cultural exchange. The indigenous populations had distinct genetic signatures, carefully preserved through generations of living in close-knit communities. But the arrival of the Spanish marked a turning point, setting off a series of events that would leave a permanent mark not only on history but deep within the genetic code of the people. The conquest was brutal. Cities burned, empires crumbled, and entire populations were decimated by warfare, forced labor, and diseases like smallpox, illnesses that indigenous immune systems had never encountered. These epidemics wiped out millions, erasing entire communities and, with them, genetic lineages that had existed for millennia. The loss wasn't just cultural, it was biological. A significant portion of Mesoamerica's ancient genetic diversity vanished in just a few generations. But even in the face of such devastation, life persisted. As the Spanish established their rule, they brought with them not only European settlers but also enslaved Africans, forced into labor across the Americas. Over time, these new populations intermingled with indigenous communities, creating a complex tapestry of genetic ancestry. Today, the DNA of many people in Mexico and Central America reflects this history, a mix of indigenous, European, and African heritage woven together through centuries of survival, adaptation, and resilience. Genetic studies reveal just how profound these changes were. In modern Mesoamerican populations, researchers have identified clear markers of European and African ancestry introduced during the colonial period. Some regions show higher levels of European DNA, especially in areas where Spanish settlements were dense. In contrast, coastal regions often have stronger African genetic influences due to the transatlantic slave trade. Yet, despite these layers of foreign ancestry, the indigenous genetic roots remain strong, particularly in communities that resisted assimilation and maintained their cultural identity. What's remarkable is the resilience of indigenous DNA. Even after centuries of colonization, forced conversions, and cultural suppression, the genetic legacy of Mesoamerica's first peoples continues to thrive. In some indigenous groups, the proportion of Native American ancestry exceeds 90%, a testament to the strength and continuity of their ancestral lines. This survival isn't just biological, it's a powerful symbol of cultural endurance against overwhelming odds. The genetic story of Mesoamerica after the Spanish conquest is more than just a tale of loss. It's a story of adaptation, resilience, and the unbreakable connection between people and their heritage. While the conquerors tried to erase the past, they could never fully extinguish the ancient bloodlines that continue to flow through the veins of millions today. DNA has become the ultimate witness, preserving the truth of history even when written records were destroyed or manipulated. Long after the fall of ancient cities and the silence of forgotten empires, the legacy of Mesoamerica continues to live on, not just in ruins or relics, but within the very DNA of its people. Every heartbeat, every family story, and every community tradition carries traces of an ancient genetic code, woven into the lives of millions across Mexico and Central America. This is the story of how Mesoamerican genes have not only survived the test of time but continue to thrive, connecting the past to the present in ways more profound than ever imagined. Modern genetic studies reveal that despite centuries of conquest, colonization, and cultural shifts, the indigenous roots of Mesoamerican people remain strong. In fact, many communities still carry a significant portion of their ancient genetic makeup, with some indigenous groups having over 90% Native American ancestry. This resilience isn't just a biological fact, it's a testament to cultural endurance. Even when ancient languages were suppressed, traditions banned, and histories rewritten, the DNA of these civilizations remained untouched, hidden in plain sight, waiting to tell its story. One of the most fascinating discoveries is how certain genetic markers have been passed down almost unchanged from the time of the ancient Maya, Zapotecs, and other civilizations. These markers aren't just scientific data. They are living connections to ancestors who built towering pyramids, developed complex calendars, and navigated vast trade networks long before European contact. For many indigenous people today, learning about these genetic links isn't just about science. It's about reclaiming an identity that colonial powers tried to erase. But the legacy of Mesoamerican genetics isn't just about survival, it's about evolution. Over thousands of years, indigenous populations adapted to their environments in remarkable ways. Genetic traits related to agriculture, altitude tolerance, and even disease resistance were passed down through generations, helping communities thrive in diverse landscapes, from the high mountains of Oaxaca to the dense jungles of the Yucatan. These adaptations are like biological fingerprints, unique to the region and a reflection of the deep connection between people and their land. Moreover, genetic research is now playing a role in cultural revitalization. As indigenous communities explore their genetic heritage, many are using this knowledge to strengthen cultural pride, revive traditional languages, and reconnect with ancestral practices. DNA isn't just a tool for scientists, it's becoming a bridge between the past and the present, helping people rediscover who they are and where they come from. Interestingly, modern genetics is also challenging old assumptions about identity. In urban areas, people who consider themselves mestizo, a mix of indigenous and European ancestry, are discovering that they carry much more indigenous DNA than they ever realized. This revelation is prompting a new wave of cultural reflection, as individuals reconnect with roots they never knew they had. It's a reminder that identity isn't just about history books or family stories. It's written in our very cells. The legacy of Mesoamerican genetics is a story of continuity, change, and rediscovery. It shows us that history isn't just something that happened long ago. It's alive within us, shaping who we are today. Every strand of DNA is a thread in the vast tapestry of human history, connecting the ancient with the modern, the past with the future. And as science continues to unlock these genetic secrets, we're learning that the story of Mesoamerica is far from over. In fact, it's still being written. History often focuses on what we can see, ruins, artifacts, and ancient texts. But what if the most profound stories are hidden deep within us, written not in stone but in the very strands of our DNA? The genetic story of Mesoamerican peoples doesn't just reveal where they came from. It challenges everything we thought we knew about the past. Because as we uncover more about their ancestry, one question becomes impossible to ignore. What else is hiding in our DNA? For centuries, historians and archaeologists pieced together Mesoamerica's past through pyramids, pottery, and sacred texts. But genetics has opened a new chapter, one that dives beyond artifacts to explore the biological history etched into every cell. This scientific revolution is revealing connections we never imagined, proof that the story of Mesoamerica isn't confined to ancient history. It's alive in the people walking among us today. Genetic research has already rewritten key chapters of Mesoamerican history. We now know that the ancestors of indigenous peoples separated from ancient East Asians around 36,000 years ago, merging with ancient North Eurasians before migrating across the Bering Land Bridge into the Americas. But what's truly mind-blowing is how little we still understand. Recent discoveries suggest there may have been multiple migration waves into the Americas, some of which don't fit the timelines we've long accepted. For example, DNA from ancient remains has shown unexpected links to populations in places as distant as the Pacific Islands. Could early Mesoamerican peoples have had contact with seafaring cultures far beyond what history tells us? Or could there have been ancient migration routes lost to time, hidden beneath rising seas and dense forests? Every new genetic discovery raises more questions than answers, challenging the very framework of human history. But the mysteries aren't just about where people came from. They're also about how they lived. Genetic markers found in ancient remains can reveal everything from dietary habits to disease resistance. They show how Mesoamerican civilizations adapted to environmental pressures, developed agricultural innovations, and even built immunity to certain illnesses. These aren't just scientific facts. They are stories of survival, adaptation, and resilience passed down through generations. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. As genetic technology advances, we're starting to uncover evidence of lost civilizations, cultures that left no written records or monumental architecture but whose genetic traces remain hidden in the DNA of modern populations. This means that entire chapters of human history could still be out there, not buried under the earth but within us, waiting to be discovered. So, what does this mean for the future? Imagine a world where we can map the complete genetic history of every civilization, tracing the rise and fall of cultures through time, not just with artifacts but with biological evidence. What forgotten empires would we find? What ancient migrations would we uncover? The possibilities are endless, and they force us to rethink not just Mesoamerican history, but the story of humanity itself. Because in the end, DNA isn't just a record of the past, it's a key to understanding who we are today. It connects us to our ancestors, to ancient civilizations, and to each other in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. The story of Mesoamerican genetics is far from over. In fact, it's just the beginning. Imagine if the answers to humanity's oldest questions weren't hidden in ancient scrolls or buried beneath forgotten ruins, but within us, woven into the very code of our existence. The genetic story of Mesoamerican peoples isn't just a tale of the past. It's a living legacy carried in the DNA of millions today. And as science digs deeper, it's not just uncovering history, it's challenging everything we thought we knew about it. Modern genetic research has transformed our understanding of ancient Mesoamerica. Scientists are no longer limited to interpreting artifacts or deciphering ancient languages. Now, they can trace entire civilizations through genetic markers, revealing connections that were invisible until just a few years ago. What's astonishing is how these discoveries are reshaping our view of Mesoamerica, not as isolated kingdoms lost to time, but as thriving, interconnected societies whose influence stretches far beyond their borders. Consider this: DNA from ancient Maya individuals shows clear genetic ties to modern indigenous populations living in the same regions today. This isn't just coincidence. It's proof of an unbroken lineage, surviving through conquests, colonization, and centuries of change. Their ancestors may have built temples and carved glyphs, but their greatest legacy wasn't left in stone. It was passed down through bloodlines, generation after generation. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Some genetic studies have uncovered mysterious markers that don't fit neatly into known historical narratives. Traces of ancient migrations, genetic footprints of groups we never knew existed, and hints of contact between distant cultures long before Europeans arrived. Could Mesoamerican civilizations have interacted with groups beyond what history tells us? Could there be lost chapters of human history hidden in our DNA, waiting to be discovered? And it's not just about ancient migrations. Genetics also reveals the stories of resilience embedded in the DNA of Mesoamerican descendants. Despite the devastating impact of colonization, disease, war, cultural erasure, indigenous genes endured. In fact, many modern populations in Mexico and Central America still carry over 90% indigenous ancestry, a testament to their ancestors' strength and survival. These revelations are more than academic discoveries, they are deeply personal. For indigenous communities, learning about their genetic heritage is a powerful act of reclamation. It connects them to ancestors whose names and stories were erased from history, restoring a sense of identity that colonization tried to destroy. For others, it's a reminder that history isn't just something we study, it's something we live, carried within us every day. So, as we continue to unlock the secrets of Mesoamerican DNA, one question remains: what else is out there, hidden within us, waiting to be found? Because every strand of DNA is more than just a sequence of genes, it's a story, one that stretches back thousands of years and connects us all in ways we're only beginning to understand.